Welcome, everyone. You're listening to How We Heal the podcast. I'm Noel, medical intuitive, your host. Our sponsor is the medicinebuddhawithin.com, intuitive training for all. Check out their website and be registered to be invited to all the upcoming trainings. Now let's begin our show. Welcome to How We Heal the podcast. My name is Noel. I want to welcome my guest, Bill Weeden, who is a multi-talented, award-winning actor, writer, composer, performer. He's written comedy for icons of my life history, legends in comedy. He's performs and has performed for decades. If you don't know his name, you should. There's so much he contributes to our cultural awareness, our ability to laugh, to be afraid, and laugh at the same time. I watched an interview you did. I watched your reel this morning, and holy cow, you are a big, person in the world you occupy. So I'm so glad to have you here today.
Nice.
Thank you for being here. The point of the podcast is to talk about how we got to be who we are in the world. What gave us those opportunities, or where did they manifest, and how did we take them? So welcome, Bill, and thank you for being here today, and love to hear your story.
It's a great pleasure to be here. I'm really glad you asked me. I have done a lot, and I'm continuing to do a lot, which is the amazing thing. I am 85 years old. I feel about 45, and
Thanks for telling us.
Yeah. No, I look upon that with pride. A lot of people, don't like to tell their age, but I feel so alive and so full of life that it's such a gift to be 85 years old and feel about 45. I mean, really, I feel about 45 because that's about when my life began, when I stopped doing a lot of the negative things I was doing, like drinking, and I got a new lease on life. It's a cliche, but it's true. And I did. I'm I like to say, because it's absolutely true, I'm busier now than I have been since I was in my 40s. I'm busier in my profession, my various professions.
Well, it's so interesting to me that your life continues to grow,
Yeah.
and you get to perform all the time, and you have, touched so many lives with the work you do. And I love that recently you were in a South Park episode. A parody of you from Carlito's Way was written into the episode of South Park. So it's just you're an icon. You're an icon. You're a definite icon in our culture.
We're definitely not burying the lead here. I mean, that was such a big story for me because
I want everyone to watch that episode, so I want to say it up front.
back in 1992, I was asked to be an extra in a movie called Carlito's Way, which you may or may not know, but it's a pretty well-known picture. It was directed by Brian De Palma, and it stars Al Pacino and Sean Penn.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah,
De Palma's more famous movies. And I was asked to be an extra. If you know what an extra is, it's now called background, which is a little bit more elevated a term. But basically, you're being paid to be part of a crowd. Well, with this film, one of the assistant directors asked me the first day of shooting, and there were 2 days of shooting. He asked me if I would do this special thing, which is dance up to the camera and boogie around with one of the leading people. And I said, sure. Of course, I didn't like doing extra work. I still don't. When on the rare occasion when I do it, I don't like it because you feel like you're being treated like cattle, which you are. But on this occasion, I was asked to do something front and center, and it was fun. So I did it, and we shot. It was a long shot, long tracking shot, which Brian De Palma is famous for, but it was a long tracking shot, so we did it over and over and over again. And I was one of the first people on camera in this shot. And I did it over and over again. It was fun to do. I did it, and we did it for 2 days. And so that was it. It showed up in the movie, and some people who didn't know I was in the movie said, I didn't know you were in Carlito's Way. So it did get noticed. Okay, it got noticed, but I was on screen for probably a grand total of 15 seconds. So fast forward 32 years, and this year, South Park, which had been on vacation or on hiatus or whatever you call it, came back, and they've done, I think, 6 episodes now, whatever. It came back, and the first episode got ratings through the stratosphere. So
Yeah, they did. They did
right,
fantastic
right,
work.
right. And of course, it was very funny, and it's a great show, and all that, which is almost a given. I have to sell.
But I love that show.
It's a great show, but but so I would never have noticed this myself. This is what I call a miracle, because I would never have noticed it, except somebody wrote to me and showed me my character in Carlito's Way had been co-opted for South Park. They used the costume, they used my hair, they used the shirt that they outfitted.
So Bill,
It,
tell the audience what you look like a little bit, because when they go to South Park, I want them to know what to look for. How would you
okay,
describe
so
your
you
appearance?
you could see my character in Carlito's Way by Googling Dave's Party Carlito's Way.
Okay,
If you
I'm going to
Google,
write that down.
Sean Penn's character was called Dave. He gave a big garden party, and I was part of the garden party. And so if you say Dave's Party Carlito's Way, you'll see me boogieing up to the camera. And if you Google the first two episodes of South Park for this season, they're both set at Mar-a-Lago. I am a guest at Mar-a-Lago. I must have been a mole, because
Yes, I don't see you there otherwise. Me neither.
I would never even, I wouldn't go across the street to see the Orange Menace, but I'm at Mar-a-Lago, and thank God they had me sneering at him. I'm not glad handing him and saying, you're my best friend or anything like that. I'm sort of sneering at him, but I'm there with him.
Perfect.
It's so hilarious, and I never would have known it. But I'm dressed exactly the same way. Flowered shirt, white pants, my hair, which is long and white. It wasn't as long then, but it was, it's me. It was so fantastic. Anyway, that's my Carlito's Way South Park story. And I'm probably going to be telling it in a story slam later.
I'd like you to be in the story slam, by the way, so please
Oh,
do.
I am in the story slam, and I'm going to tell that story. That's what
You're in the story slam this year?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
I am too, for the first time.
Well, you're going to know my story in advance.
I'm so glad you're going to be there.
That's the one I'm telling you, and this is like a dress rehearsal for it, so that's good.
Well, I think you are everywhere, so let's put that out there. There's something about you that gets it everywhere. So how did you start? Were you an actor when you started?
Oh, no.
What happened?
Very far from being an actor. I always wanted to be an actor, but from the moment I said anything, I stuttered so badly, I could scarcely get a sentence out. And it's the truth. I mean, you hear me talk now. I'm a motor mouth, and I talk like cannonballs. But when I first began to talk, and for many, many, many years later, I stuttered. So you would obviously notice it, and I had a lot of trouble talking. So I put the dream of being an actor way on the back burner, because I knew I couldn't do it. So I became a writer, and I became a songwriter. I became a composer. I wrote music, at the risk of sounding like a narcissist, but I am a narcissist anyway. So why
Admit it. We both are.
I like to say I'm narcissistic. I'm not a narcissist. I'm narcissistic. but I began to write music, and I was very good at it. That's what I was going to say. At the risk of sounding like I'm tooting my own horn, I'm very good at it. And I started to write with somebody in prep school, and we went to college together and kept writing songs and writing shows at college. And then we came to New York City and started to write songs for cabarets, and got really great reviews for them. So I still stuttered. I still stuttered quite badly. So performing was not on my dance card.
But you could play music. Did you play piano? Is that what your instrument was?
I played piano. I still play piano when called upon. And I'm not a virtuoso by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm very good at what I do, which is to be very energetic and very out there. I look fun playing, and I can play. I play fairly well. I don't play really well, but I play fairly well, and I have a lot of fun playing. So when I do, and when I perform it on stage, it looks like I'm doing better than I am. So anyway, I started to write songs, and my writing partner and I would perform the songs at parties, and always brought the house down. And because the songs were very funny, they were comedy songs for the most part. Once in a while, we'd write sort of a ballad, but most of the time they were very funny comedy songs. And we performed at parties and people laughed. And then one of our friends was taking over a nightclub, managing a nightclub in the village called the Duplex, which used to be on Grove Street, I think, and now it's across Sheridan Square, and asked us if we wanted to perform our songs on stage for a couple of weeks. So, of course, I wanted to, but I was a little scared too because I still stuttered. And that became like a ruling thing in my life, which was my problem, but whatever. It was the truth. So I said to myself, okay, I have a partner who can pick up the slack if I stuttered. And before I go on stage, I can always get a little bit drunk. So it'll get
Oh,
me on stage. It'll get
grease
me.
the wheel, right?
I was already drinking quite a bit, but it picked up a lot. I would go on stage and I would always be a little buzzed, but that would be okay because and then we started to get very nice reviews for our performing. And
something happened.
Well,
Didn't work anymore.
Well, that's true. But that was a few years later. I mean, we made it work for a while, and we got managed by a very, very top manager named Jack Rollins, who was Woody Allen's manager, and Dick Cavett and a few other people. I still was drinking, and I remember a review in the Times said, "Mr. Weeden's eyes are shining brightly." He doesn't know why they were shining, but they were. And so that went on. But in the meantime, we had met some people along the way because we wrote for cabarets. We got to meet some very high profile people like Lily Tomlin. I became quite friendly with Lily, and she asked me and my partner to write comedy material for her. So we wrote some for her. Along the way, we wrote material there. It was performed by Madeline Kahn and other people that you probably know. So we met a lot of people, and our songs were performed in cabarets. There was a place called Upstairs or the Downstairs, which is no longer, hasn't been there for years and years, but it used to be very big in the 60s, the 50s and the 60s. And there was another place called Julius Monk's Plaza 9, which was big, and we wrote for them. In 1968, this was a breakthrough for us. I got a phone call from a man named Don Almagor. He's a celebrity in Israel, and he still is. He's a big celebrity as a critic and also a writer. And he had written the Hebrew translations of a lot of, or several American musicals, which were performed in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. So he called me one day and he said, now I should backtrack. A big idol of mine was a songwriter named Tom Lehrer, who you may have heard of. He wrote loads and loads of very well-known songs. The Vatican Rag and The Old Dope Peddler.
Great titles.
He was a very funny writer. He was also a Harvard professor, but he became a big, big, big cult figure, and he was an idol of mine. So Tom Lehrer was a big deal in my head. This man, Don Almagor, called me and said, "We're doctoring a Broadway show in Baltimore. It's not going well, and we need some new songs." And I called, the only songwriter I know is Tom Lehrer. He knew Tom Lehrer from shows that he had done in Israel. Don had done the translations for, and Tom had been there apparently. So anyway, he knew Tom Lehrer. It was the only one and he called Tom Lehrer, and Tom Lehrer said, "I cannot do it. I'm too busy, but you should call Bill Weeden and David Finkel.
Your partner.
I've heard their material in cabarets, and it's excellent. And I think they'd be able to do it." So he called us and said, "Would you be interested in doctoring a Broadway show?" And at the risk of saying something which I don't know whether I can say it, but I
you can say anything here. You can.
Doesn't bear shit in the woods. Of course, we want to do a Broadway show. so I can say anything I want. Okay. So we went down to Baltimore, and we were competing against Alan Sherman, whose name you may know. He wrote "Hello, Mother," "Hello, Father."
Oh, yeah, that's a big talent too. Yeah,
he was up for the job, and we were up for the job, and we got the job. We had to perform. We had to perform some songs for Dick Shawn, Dick Shawn, you may know. He's deceased now, but he was a very funny guy. He's in The Producers with Zara Mostel and Gene Wilder.
Oh, yeah,
He plays,
absolutely.
he plays
Yeah.
LSD, the the crazy person who winds up playing Hitler, I think. So it's been kind of anyway.
Classics.
Dick Shawn, he loved our work, so we got the job. We wrote songs for I'm Solomon was the name of the show. It was an American version of King Solomon and the Cobbler, which was a big hit in Israel, but they expanded it and made it gargantuan, which was the wrong way to go for this show. And but we wound up getting the best reviews in the show. Several critics said the show is a bomb, but these songs by Bill Weeden and David Finkel are really good. We got an agent out of that. We got William Morris, which was a very big agent at the time.
Sure. Yeah.
No,
It isn't. No, it doesn't. Does it still exist, Bill?
they no longer exist. It's been absorbed into some kind of conglomerate or something.
Right. It's something new.
I think William Morris exists anymore, but anyway, it was a big deal. So we got them for agents, and they got us some jobs. We worked with Carol Channing,
Wow.
and when we wrote a great song for the second mayoral campaign of John Lindsay, and it was done on TV, and that was a big deal. Provided one of my favorite moments of my entire life.
Well, tell us about it. I know John Lindsay. Now you're in my era.
I'm sorry.
You're in my timeline. I know.
Oh, Lindsay, right. So this is in 1969. Okay, that we did this. It was a second campaign, and we wrote a song which was to be performed by 3 stars, and I got to rehearse them all in my apartment. Jerry Orbach, Tony Randall, and George Segal.
Wow.
And they were all wonderful. It came time for the rehearsal on the stage of Madison Square Garden. This coming up is the moment that I'm talking about.
Oh.
They're on the stage of Madison Square Garden. The show's going to be that night. It's a Saturday night. Jerry Orbach is in a Broadway show called Promises, Promises, and he's in a performance at this point. So George Segal and Tony Randall are on stage without Jerry Orbach, and I'm sitting in the audience watching the rehearsal go on. And George Segal, as everybody listened, including Ethel Merman, I think, and Helen Hayes, and a lot of
group of people. Yeah,
Merv Griffin, who I think was the MC. He said, "Is Bill Weeden out there? Could you come up and stand in for Jerry?" So I got to stand in for Jerry with George and Tony, and we did the song. And was that a high moment? I like to think I'm not starstruck, but once in a while I get that.
Yeah, I mean you were in Carnegie Hall doing this?
Madison Square Garden.
Oh, Madison Square Garden. Oh my goodness. I mean, that's like
Felt.
how do you or Film Forum which is it?
The Felt Forum.
The Felt Forum. Okay.
It's part of Madison Square Garden, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're dating yourself and me.
Maybe.
Did I know the Felt Forum? I don't think I did.
Felt Forum. I'm not even sure that the Felt Forum had existed at that point. Wherever it was Madison Square Garden, and it was a star-studded group, and I got to perform on the stage.
And you performed. So, you keep saying about all these incredible things, the singing and the writing you've done. I'm going to, at the end, I might say, can you play us a tune? You can stop, but you can stop me. So, and you're doing comedy writing while this is going on, or you kind of moved away from the writing?
It's all going into comedy and music, yeah. And I had not begun to perform yet. My partner and I began to perform in 1971. That was our first gig, and it was at the Duplex. Okay, so then we realized something was missing, and we had a new manager. The owners of the Bottom Line, which was a rock and roll club, existed at that. They were our new managers, and they suggested we add a woman to the mix. And we did. We found a woman named Sally Faye, and we became Weeden, Finkel, and Faye, which was, the Times critic of the time said, it's the most euphonious trio since Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod. Weeden, Finkel. So anyway, we began to perform. We performed in New York at cabarets, and then we were hired one night at the Bottom Line. We wrote a song for the Obie Awards, which is the off-Broadway version of the Tonys.
Mm. Yep.
And we're up there and we performed, and it was on TV. It was on Channel 13. Now, at Fortune magazine, some executives had been wondering how they were going to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Fortune magazine, which was coming up that year, which was 1978. But the anniversary was in 1980, and they wanted to do something special. Well, that night, they had all been watching the McNeil-Lehrer report, and they had not turned the TV off. They left it on, and they were talking, and suddenly we come on and sang our song, which was the opening of the Obie Awards, and tore the place apart. It just
Wow.
scored so heavy. And I played the piano, and with the three of us sang. The next day, we got a call from these people at Fortune magazine. They said, "How would you like to write a show for Fortune magazine and tour the country?" And we said, "Well,
Wow.
how much are we going to get?" Now, my first thought was, I marched against the Vietnam War, which I did. I cannot work for corporate America, and Fortune magazine is corporate America. I cannot work for them. But then I found out how much they were going to pay us, and I said, I'm going to make an exception in this case. So we did, and it was great. For and from 1980 until 1987, we did a yearly sales presentation. We sold ads basically, but we did it with humor and music and comedy. So it went over great. And then we met a whole lot of other companies, and they hired us too. So we had a whole
Oh my gosh, that's a great
cutting,
gig.
and they're all through the 80s.
Well,
Okay.
you're really combining all your skills now.
Yep.
The
Yep.
comedy, the schmooze, the acting. There was acting at that point, right? Because you're out doing kind of a
Oh,
lot of glad
it was
handing and happy.
sure. It definitely was acting, but it was a special kind of acting. It was presentational. It was performance. It was sort of being me, being charming. That was basically what it was. But it wasn't really, really, really acting. But
Right, right. It
in
was
19,
showmanship.
it had a lot of showmanship, and it was a lot of fun, of course, and we did really, really well at it.
You're
By the,
still not doing a lot of acting, right?
no,
Full-fledged.
by the end
Wow.
of the 80s, a lot of that discretionary income, which had been a big deal in the 80s because of Reagan, they said the only good thing I can say about him, but he was the discretionary income king, right? So all these companies had a lot of money to play with,
Helps the
and
arts, always. Supposedly. This time I'm not sure.
exactly the the 90s rolled around, and that a lot of that money dried up. So I was looking for something else to do. So I auditioned for a touring company of the Rocky Horror Show, and I got it. And I toured
Wow.
the country, and we went to Canada too, and it was so much fun, and did very well at it. So then I got a touring company of The Wizard of Oz and did that. And then let's see,
These
that
are plays you're in, right? Touring plays.
these are touring plays. These,
Yeah.
these were not films. Backing up just a little bit, 19 I'm trying to think. In 1989, my first marriage broke up, and I was feeling very devastated because it had lasted for 18 years, and I had a daughter out of it
Hmm.
who's still incredible. But the marriage broke up, and I wanted something to do, so something new. About 2 or 3 years before that, I had seen a film called The Toxic Avenger. Have you heard of The Toxic Avenger?
It's not familiar. No.
It's very, very well known. And it was created and produced by a company called Troma. And
No
I,
trauma. Yeah.
yeah, Troma.
Yeah.
I love this movie to distraction. I really loved it. And I was never a horror movie fanatic at all, or even a fan, much less a fanatic. But I really enjoyed that movie. I thought it was great. So I saw a casting notice. In one of the trade magazines, trade newspapers, and the casting notice sounded like it was a Troma movie. I thought, well, it sounds like one. I'm going to submit my picture for this and my resume. such as it was, because there wasn't that much at that point. So I submitted it. They called me in. Long story short, I got the part, and it was a movie called, are you ready? Sergeant Kabuki Man, NYPD, and it was about a cop, a New York City cop, who somehow inherits the mantle of a Japanese superhero, and it's a crazy movie. And I played the ultimate villain. I was. I tell people this because it's true. The movie was shot in 1989, and I was a villain. I was a arch villain, and even then, my character was based on Donald Trump.
Oh,
Because
really?
1989, because everybody knew even then. Everybody in New York knew what a jerky was. We did not know what a
Yes, as a New Yorker, we all knew. That's right.
we did not. We did not know he was the ultimate monster, which I'm sorry, I'm expressing my own opinion there,
It's please
but
express.
But he was already an asshole. Okay, so we knew that, and my character was an asshole, and I was a jerk, and I was a monster in disguise. That's a spoiler alert, but it doesn't matter. The movie is very silly and very fun. But I was a monster. I was the devil in disguise. You don't know that until the end of the movie. So anyway, that was my intro into horror movies, and it was a comedy horror movie. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. It was about as scary as a Roadrunner cartoon.
It's camping up horror.
It was campy. It was definitely campy, right? So after I did these touring shows, I started to do New York theater. I did a lot of stage work, and it was great fun. And I did some good plays and had a lot of fun doing it. But then, movie that I had made, Sergeant Kabuki Man, became a cult favorite, and I became rather well known in the horror field.
Yeah, I've seen that's a lot of what you've been in. You've been in these tremendous amount of films
Right.
that kind of capture that at part of you. And I know you're
Exactly.
much more than that, but you've got
Well,
this
now
whole genre now.
I think on my epitaph it's going to be that I'm a horror star, because that's what I'm known for now. Because and listen, don't get me wrong, I love it. I get called. It's embarrassing, and I blush every time I hear it, but I love it. They call me a legend, and I think I'm not dead yet. I'm not a legend yet. I'm not Humphrey Bogart. I'm not Cary Grant.
And you're in your category. You have a
Absolutely,
lot of products. I mean, you've been in a huge
absolutely.
amount of films.
I have.
Yeah. And what's coming up for you in film? Anything new this
Oh,
year?
well, yeah, a couple of things. I made a movie in last April, called Our Man Funk, which I honestly think is the best thing I've ever done.
To
It's
watch that.
it's an excellent movie. I mean, maybe it'll turn out to be a bomb, but I can't imagine, because it's so good. I co-wrote it,
Oh,
I,
amazing.
and I play the title role. It's a retired cop who has 3 grandchildren, one of whom is murdered, and I enlist the other 2 grandchildren to go on a vigilante hunt with me. So I call it, there I'm
With Charles Bronson, yes.
stuttering there, Death Wish meets
Yes, Death Wish.
Parenthood, which is quite a little matchup. Death Wish meets Parenthood. So there's my dog barking in the background. So yeah, so it's going to be great. I'm currently co-writing a movie for myself called Gonzo Geezer Gorefest, in which a couple of old guys, including me, or 3 old guys, go off on a road trip, and one of them is murdered, and the other 2 find the killer. But I'm not the one that's murdered.
Well, it's right up your alley, right?
Right.
That's kind of a chain. Goes along with the thread of your all these films you're in.
Yep.
Well, I'm
Yep.
glad to see you're writing and acting, and you're sort of
I
bringing it all back in. Are you
I
gonna
am.
Are you gonna write some music for these films?
I'm not doing that.
Mm,
Wrote the, the latest song I wrote is the on the internet. It's called "Democracy is the Best Thing Yet." The phrase was given to me by my longtime writing partner, the guy I went to college with. He said, "Let's write a song about democracy because it's in danger." So we wrote this song, and we got people to sing it, and it's on the internet. If you Google "Democracy is the Best Thing
I
Yet,"
will definitely.
you'll see me playing the piano. You'll see the three of us singing, the trio,
Beautiful.
and you'll see a lot of other people, some of whom you may know.
But what's interesting, Bill, what's interesting about your story is it's like it's a magic carpet ride. And were there any times in your life you had to push people out of the way who tried to stop you or didn't like what you brought? Or a partner, a family member who was like, you're being crazy. Why do you want to have this kind of a career? Did you have any pushback in the world, or is always the door just open for you?
At the risk of speaking of the dead, my mother was very skeptical of this whole thing. She wanted me to be a lawyer, which was the last thing in the world I wanted to do.
Now,
So
I think you went to university, am I right? Or
I
no?
I went to Yale.
Okay, so there it is, right. Of
And
course
before
she
that, I
wanted
went
you
to
to be a
Andover.
lawyer.
Before that, I went to Andover, which was well. They wanted me to be a lawyer long before I went to Yale. They wanted me to be a lawyer when I was in high school, and I never had
Yeah.
this desired anything like that. I've said, I I'm very. This sounds awful, but I have said rather than work a 9 to 5 job again. I worked a 9 to 5 job for the first 3 or 4 years in a city. I said rather than work a 9 to 5 job again, I would rather live in Staten Island. Or
Iowa, yeah, or yes, there are many places that we can lose ourselves and not have to survive on, not make much money and survive. Those are
exactly,
2. Those are 2. But your life is, what I've met you only recently and I've heard you sharing in, public settings. And
right.
I just, you're somebody who has this magical element of
Oh,
like a chemistry, like almost like a magnetic force. And I think you just bring the whole essence of who you are to it, what you do. I don't think you layer it. I don't think you hide it or, okay, now I'll be that kind of person or I'll protect that part of myself from the world. You just full blast. This is me, Bill. This is me. Bill Weeden, welcome home. Here I am.
thank you so much. It's the way I want. It's the way I want to be seen because it's the way I feel. So I'm glad it comes across.
It definitely does, and I think you attract that level of people say legend. Well, legend, because you have that magnetic field that you bring, which is kind of like, I know how to portray all these elements of myself because look, it's on my face every day. This is who I am, So there's like this very authentic person I meet when I meet you, and I'm so grateful that I ran into you, that I got to see you occasionally, and that I had a little bit of interaction with your family member, but mostly that you were able to continue to bring something to the world that it needs. We need to laugh at the adversity, cry and laugh and hug each other and laugh some more and be scared. It's good to be scared. And do it with music, with comedy, with drama, with I've seen some of your acting clips and you're very good at bringing the darkness and the drama. And on the other side, I feel like we're going to get told a really great joke in the moment and laugh about the murder on the screen.
It's true. I know you know Amy Stiller, who I've known since she was a
Yes.
teenager. Her parents, I worked very closely with both of her parents, Jerry Stiller and Ann Mira, and they were two of the finest people and inspirations to me and two
Mm.
of the nicest people in show business that I've ever met. So I just wanted to say that because it's so true. And I just wanted to mention them in addition to Lily Tomlin, Carol Channing, Dick Shawn, and all those other people. Stiller and Mira were where it's at.
They're real people. And what I think happened from what you're sharing, and I just got a brief overview. What happened in your life is people are drawn to you. People want to work with you. You bring a lot. You bring all of it. And it feels like you didn't, you were clawing your way to the top. You weren't trying to get everyone out of the way to get there. You were
Not at
just,
all.
it's like there's space, there's room for all of us. Let's just do our thing.
It's never been my intention to push people out of the way. I will say one thing. I had an aha moment back in 19 I don't know 80 somewhere around there. I had always been envious of Steve Martin because people would say, "You look like Steve Martin." Well, I look like Steve Martin, but I'm not making his money, et cetera, whatever.
Yes,
I,
there's the
I,
story.
I'm sorry.
I said that's the story. Yeah.
That's the story. I made an absolute decision. I remember one night, it was the night of the Tonys. I was watching it on TV, and I think maybe he was on there or something. And I just made the decision there is room for everybody, and I'm
Mhm.
not going to be envious of anybody anymore. And I haven't been. And that's like 40 years ago. Envy and the idea that I have to get ahead at the cost of anything, that I don't have it anymore. I just know that if I just put one foot in front of another and do the next best move, that what will happen will happen. And if it happens tomorrow, that's great. If it happens in a month, that's okay. And if it happens in 2 years, that's okay. It's going to happen if I just keep at it.
Well,
It's
that's a spiritual quest. I mean, I hate to tell you, but you're on a spiritual quest. You're not. This is not
what do you
just about the way the body looks. This is your soul coming out.
right?
Okay, it's really magnificent. So you're writing a play. I mean, a show. The one about the three guys and the murder.
Right?
Our Man Funk is like your great work.
Oh, good night. I think it's going to be
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing. I think you're prolific and you have this sort of humble approach, which I love. I love the combination. I think it's so rare. It really is, especially in your business.
Thank you so much. That's why I'm not ashamed to say I'm narcissistic because look, you scratch anybody in the show business, there's a narcissist somewhere in there. Otherwise, how can you say I want to put myself out there and make people pay to enjoy what I'm doing? That's this some kind of narcissism in there, and I don't
Yeah.
apologize for it. It's
No, and we don't
part of
have
me,
to.
you know.
No, it's underneath it. I think it's the piece of us, the survival instinct in our ego, which protects us because the rejection level and the hurdles can, my daughter is an actor and I won't use her name, but she is successful at this, which is amazing. And she learned from watching me, you're going to have to see 1,000 people and you'll get a yes. So go out and get that number done.
That's absolutely true.
Go for it. I mean, you're the
People say,
difference between,
what
yeah, that's it. And don't
what
let it
what do
bother.
what do you do to make it in show business? I say you just have to keep at it and know that there's room for everybody. If you just keep at it and you're talented enough, it will something will happen. It may not be what you expect to happen. It may not even be what you at this point you want to happen. I mean, believe me, Kier, believe me, at one point in my career, the last thing this Yale graduate and I was as elite as they come. I was as elitist as they come at one point in my life. Last thing in the world I expect me to be was a horror movie star, legend, whatever you call it. That's not something that was in my game plan at all. I'm
You would have ran
loving
from it.
it.
Yeah.
Loving
Yeah.
it. I'm
That's
loving.
great. Well, it is, it's a place for you to bring that expression, all the expressions you have,
It.
all the talent, all the wisdom and the humor. I think a lot of what you do brings humor. Even
Oh yeah.
the
Oh yeah.
scary stuff, it's like amazing. And I sometimes I'm laughing till I cry.
Well,
And
I think one thing that people like about what I bring to that genre is a certain humor that a lot of people don't have. You
yeah, a good dark humor, very important in this world. So if we were to look for you and, be contributing to you in any way, where would you like people to show up? At a
well,
film, online? How do you want people to find you?
well, they can find me online. I'm on Facebook all the time. I do have Instagram. I guess if you go to TikTok, you can find me, but probably harder to find me there. It's very easy to find me on Facebook. I know it's the old person's, the old person's
It's
easier to
okay.
access things on Facebook. I'm completely lost on TikTok. I just can't figure it out. Anyway, and I don't understand what people love about Instagram because all it is photographs. And
Yeah, I find it.
story,
Yeah,
the story lasts about 5 fucking minutes. It's gone before you can find it. It's ridiculous. Anyway,
there's
you can find me on Facebook, and I should mention that on November 4th in Woodstock, New York, which is where I'm living,
fantastic. Me too.
there's a double bill. at the Tinker Street Cinema, which is at 132 Tinker, I think, but it's somewhere around there. It's easy to find. The Tinker Street Cinema at 8 p.m. on November 4th. There's a double bill of two of my horror classics, Psycho Ape, Psycho
Great.
Ape 2, Psycho Ape 2. Now, Psycho Ape is like a parody of Halloween. If you know Halloween, and most horror fans know Halloween, even if they're not big horror fans, they know Halloween because it's a big, big deal. And Jamie Lee Curtis got her start there and all that stuff. So it's a parody of Halloween. Halloween was about a mental patient who escaped from an institution, and he was chased by the manager of the institution, played by Donald Pleasance. Psycho Ape is about a killer gorilla who escapes from the Detroit Zoo, and I'm the zookeeper, and I'm chasing him. And we run into a blonde, and there's all sorts of things happen. And I've told several times, always come back to life. It's an insane movie, but in my opinion, it's very, very funny. I'll do a Q&A, and then it's followed by Psycho Ape 2, which makes
I'm putting it on my calendar. I'll be there too.
Psycho Ape 2 makes Psycho Ape 1 by comparison look like Lawrence of Arabia.
Over the top.
But it's also a lot of fun. So I hope you come. Anybody that's within shouting distance of Woodstock, get there because it'll be fun.
Yeah, or even 2 hours away. By New York City is only 100 miles away.
Yeah.
I'm from New York. Let's blast the place out. Get it full. Pull onto the streets.
I would love to fill that place. I would love
That would be so amazing. You know, Bill, if we're going to leave a little advice or an idea for a new show that relates to what's going on in the world today, which I find alarming and disarming. I try to bring some, awareness of how to have humor about the circumstances we're finding ourselves in.
Right.
The first semester of this nightmare, I had drawn a cartoon to put out on Facebook of a wolf in sheep's clothing leading us all to the slaughter. That was a long time ago. If you were thinking of writing a song for this time in history, does any come to mind? I mean, a creative way? What could we write about?
As I say, we've already written a song called Democracy is the Best Thing Yet, but that's not a funny song. I used to write comedy songs about current events all the time. It's hard to come up with. I see Donald Trump, the character, on Saturday Night Live, and I never can laugh at it because it just is, he's too horrible.
Too much tragedy, yeah.
I've already made another movie, which was made a couple of years ago, in which I play Donald J. Kruger, the racist president of the United States.
You nailed it.
Oh, Special Needs Revolt, and it's about a young man with Down syndrome who brings down the president of the United States. He brings me down, and it's so fun, and it's very funny. And people think my character is very funny, even though it's basically a very thinly veiled version of our esteemed Orange Monster.
I like the name Orange Monster. So I guess we can say go to your films, be jolted, bolted, filled with laughter, leave with creative ideas and how to approach the next moment in your life, and listen for the writing, the song, the caricatures, the enormous voice, face, and portrayal of real life moments and experiences by Bill Weeden, who brings it all. You bring it all, Bill.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. It's such a pleasure to have you today. Thank you for taking the time and all the navigating of the tech that we had to do. Even though we're still on Facebook, we ain't too old to do that. I'll talk to you. I'll see you in the neighborhood. Thanks, Bill.
Will do. Thank you so much, Keir.
Thank you. We want to thank the following people. Jennifer Maidman for original music. Listen to her on iTunes and Spotify. True English of Upstate Podcast Studio for sound and recording engineering. And all our executive producers. See you next time.